Well, good morning, everyone. It is 8:30. I will go ahead and call this morning's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order. Looking for an approval of the agenda.
So move.
I have a motion by Commissioner Gross to approve the agenda
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Ebinger. Are there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Citizens to be heard. Oh, we have to vote on it. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. Citizens to be heard this morning. Are there any citizens wishing to address the board on anything not on the agenda? Steve, have you had any correspondence in regards to this?
I have not, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Our next item is the approval of the payment of bills and vouchers.
So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Campbell to approve the bills and a second by Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The request is granted. The minutes are presented from the April 5th, 2022 meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gross to approve the minutes as presented, a second by Commissioner Kaylee. Are there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. Our second item this morning is information sharing on Downtown Moorhead, Inc. We have Derek Lapointe, the president and CEO, with us this morning. Good morning, Derek.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thanks for having me this morning. I'll take a few minutes just to kind of go over some items that we've been working on over the last few months. We again thank the Commission for your support to the organization. I think we've continued to represent this area as best we can, and we've made some differences, I think, across the state partnerships that are really going to, I think, benefit our overall community as well. So just want to note that we continue to have conversations with our county partners, Dilworth and Barnesville in particular. We've been having lots of conversations with Peyton and his team on some projects and some programs that they're doing. We helped establish their commercial incentives that they put in place that are really kind of helping that area put a little regional market in that corridor off the north side of Highway 10. And Karen and I have regular check-ins as well on just different issues that are facing their community as well as childcare. I know Karen has a major factor and a major push to see childcare expand in that district, and I know we feel the same way here in this area as well. Steve and I continue to have conversations as well on just other things that we can be aware of as far as opportunities that are presenting itself across the state, especially through deed, and other issues that are coming up as well. One of the things that I really want to focus on here this morning is some of the state leadership visits and legislative updates. So obviously the news of Paul and Kent, Senator Eakin not running is certainly going to shake up our district greatly. It was tough to hear that news end of last week that Senator Eakin wasn't going to run. So we're definitely going to be in for some changes to this area. I know there's been a few of us that have been connecting earlier about having consistent messaging and kind of how we sell and brand our area to whoever gets elected at that point in time. I think having a strong pull, whether that's through our higher education partners, M-State, MSUM, Concordia, to business leaders, to public leaders, of just making sure that we have, doesn't have to be the same or just kind of the same issues that we face, but at least having a message of what some of the needs are and how we can better off our regional territory to the state partners as well. So I think there'll be some conversations that we'll pick up here in the next coming months, and certainly the county will be a part of those conversations of just getting a regional community leaders and business leaders together to talk through those onboardings to those state elected officers. We had Commissioner Grove visit on March 23rd and 24th. He was in town to speak at the Midwest Economic Summit that the Fargo-Moorhead Chamber of Commerce put into play. There was a few things that we really wanted to focus. I know a couple of the commissioners were able to attend, and the county administrator were able to attend a community leaders meeting. A couple of them included just an understanding of this market. I've been trying to get Commissioner Grove up here for 3.5 years. He had yet to visit the Moorhead area. So when we did get his schedule confirmed, we definitely wanted to make it worth his time and have at least a takeaway for him to understand this market a little bit better. Some things that we really highlighted was Launch Minnesota, which is an entrepreneurial development program that he really kickstarted through DEED. I don't know if I've shared this with the county yet or not, but what happened is this Launch Minnesota got some money from the legislative session. It was, you had to have one hub per your initiative territory. So obviously ours goes from St. Cloud to Moorhead, massive territory. We have a lot of really great groups that do entrepreneurial training in this area. A lot of them are located, though, with a Fargo address. So they were discouraged to apply, actually told that they would not accept the application, even though we had Emerging Prairie, Greater Fargo Moorhead EDC, in partnership with MSUM, M-State, the City of Moorhead, and other organizations, and we still couldn't get that one through. So we ultimately had to partner with St. Cloud, which we're making the most out of that partnership, but we know it would be much better served if we had something that served this area specifically. So we made that point pretty clear to the commissioner. I think he's already taken that conversation back to the executive director of Launch Minnesota, and we expect some conversations to happen within the next month or two. Ironically, just last week, the West Central group that is hosting this entrepreneurial training held a challenge grant, and a Moorhead entrepreneurial business actually won the challenge grant. There's a group that actually makes a attachment for lawnmowers. It has a weed whipper kind of attachment to the front of the lawnmower. So we're excited that we're getting recognized through it, but understand the logistic challenges for those entrepreneurs and the training that's offered to access a market that's a couple hours away. I think that's just a difficult thing to do long term. Another big thing that I'm happy to report has been changed already is state reporting inclusion. So the job reports that come out quarterly, other workforce reports, they include regional MSAs on the DEED reports. What they were before was Minneapolis, St. Paul, Mankato, Rochester, St. Cloud, and then Duluth/Superior, Wisconsin. It did not include Fargo, Moorhead. Lisa Bodie with the city has been trying to get this changed for, I think, over 10 years. We haven't had much response from the state. It's always been, it's when data is collected and there's always something. Happy to report that has already been changed, and we have an inclusion of the Fargo Moorhead MSA in those reports, as well as they included East Grand Forks, and I think they had another one on the Wisconsin border too. So those reports are updated. What it came down to was the data that's being collected is from the Fargo MSA. So Fargo holds the MSA to this area because they're the larger population. And those numbers are collected after the report is produced from Minnesota DEED. We basically ask for either an asterisk or something, or just update the report when those numbers come in, and now we are included. So that's really, really good news. I was able to spend most of the evening with the commissioner and his team. We talked through a lot of different things. Couple issues that were also brought up, and this, again, ironically came up a couple weeks after he visited, but we were made aware of a House bill and a Senate bill that was looking at small business grants, and specifically had that residence requirement. The 51% ownership needed to be a resident of Minnesota. And we know that we ran into that same issue with some of the COVID dollars and the CARES dollars that were allocated out to businesses. And many businesses were left behind, or we had to make them whole locally through funds because of where their home address is. We're following that closely through the legislative session, and I don't think anything's been changed yet, but we were able to follow up with the commissioner right away, and he was working with his team on potentially trying to revise some language as well. I think the other thing that's worth noting is we had a community leaders meeting where I know we had public officials there. We followed that up with a business leaders meeting. The chamber was in charge of some of that invites to that list, but we were able to include some others in there. I think it was very telling, some of the personal stories that some of these businesses were able to share to the commissioner. I think he definitely got smacked in the face with a shovel with some of the information that was brought to his attention. Specifically, one that stands out to me that was so just natural in it is that we were talking about the inclusion of Fargo addresses, or at least understanding the market and how we can't just isolate it off to just the Clay County side, that this naturally works differently. The commissioner called out Thomas Hill with United Way. And Thomas is a Moorhead resident, as his kids go through the Moorhead public school system. And the question from the commissioner was specifically about how United Way is helping with the child care issue. And Thomas' response was, they've applied for state grants, and they've actually been docked points as United Way to receive assistance for child care grants or other services that United Way offers. And the commissioner definitely looked my way, and we kind of had a moment to follow up afterwards and saying, this isn't just about building buildings or making a business whole. This is providing your services, your basic services to the residents of Clay County, and really providing an area where people are served. That's what it all comes down to. It's not just all about businesses, but it's just about how we care for our citizens as well. And yeah, as I said, I think it was a eye-opening experience. I think for the commissioner, we were able. I think a few of us were able to walk away with a cell phone number now, so we do have access to reach out to him a little bit easier, and those conversations are continuing as well about how to unlock potential partnerships across the state and through DEED as well. Following up with that, we had Governor Walz come here last week, and that was a little bit of a fiasco with not really knowing until 9 o'clock the night before. But we made the best of those conversations, and a lot of it was a political tour with the public safety and the Walz checks and not implementing a gas tax. But I was able to talk to the communication staff of the governor and just saying we want to make sure that if the governor is coming to this area, that he has a welcoming experience, and at least alerting us 18 hours in advance, but not maybe 10 hours in advance of that visit would be helpful to make sure we have the right people in the room and get the topics that he needs to discuss as well. But I know the county obviously you guys were in your board meeting. Nobody really got a personal invite until actually seeing the press release. So it was definitely a last minute thing that was put together. But I think the public safety staff, the sheriff, the police chief in Dilworth and in Fargo and fire from Moorhead as well, I think they did an excellent job being kind of put on a spot to answer some of the questions and share some of the concerns. And I think some progress is actually already coming out of that to a degree locally with Law Enforcement Skills Center. We've been having some conversations with Carrie Brimhall at M-State, and she's been actually trying to get a skills development center on M-State's campus here in Moorhead. The biggest concern, obviously, hearing from our public safety folks is that the officers go through the training here locally, then they have to go to Alexandria to finish that 10-week program for skills training, which ultimately creates double rents or relocation, and then it's harder to maybe get those folks back in this area. So hopeful, and we see a window maybe of opportunity with the governor to kind of share some of those opportunities that M-State's trying to build upon, and certainly to build a facility like that's going to take some money. So hopefully some money could be allocated through a budget process to get that happening. I mentioned earlier and was talking to the chair about this before the meeting, but the Chamber of Commerce is hosting a Moorhead Day at the Capitol next week, April 28th and 29th. That is on their website right now as a registration link and some of the meetings that they're looking to schedule. So stay tuned to that, and if you do have an interest, I recommend just reaching out to the Chamber about attending that event. There's two things legislatively that we're tracking very closely. One I mentioned already was the small business grants and that residency requirement. The other one is the unemployment insurance trust fund. Not sure if the commissioners have received any notes from this from businesses, but there is a $2.6 billion shortfall to make that trust fund whole through the federal government loans that are out there. If that does not get made whole by the end of the session here, that will be significant tax increases from a payroll perspective to our Minnesota businesses. So we're definitely keeping an eye on that, and we hope that will get resolved before the end of session. There's a few other things I really want to touch on here today. One is just kind of the overall economy, and I know that's not going to be a surprise and news to the folks here, but it is something that we're continuing conversations with our local businesses and our local development community. I would say, yes, interest rates are increasing, but the major concern that we're hearing from most builders and developers is the construction materials, the access to the materials and the cost of materials. I think in Moorhead alone, there's only been about one single-family housing permit pulled to this point, whereas in years past, it's been typically 5 to 10. So you can see it in the housing market side of it, but you can also see it from the business, commercial, and residential multifamily housing development that's happening as well. One that we're really working closely with is the former Days Inn hotel site, trying to make sure that project can still happen based on some of the costs that are coming in. But it's becoming increasingly more difficult to start projects. And obviously I can't blame the development community. They gotta look at their numbers, and just for example, on some of them, there's a project, very similar build, that was bid this year compared to last year. Last year was $130,000 a unit. This year it's $185,000 a unit, and there's just not enough rental increase capacity to offset that big of a cost increase. So I think we're hoping that we're not getting into a complete, shutdown of development, but I think we all have to be aware that developers and businesses are certainly taking a look at their financials and is this the right time to do it? I think the challenge and what we're hearing from most developments and businesses is they don't feel like it's going to get cheaper. The real estate is still going to have that value long term. But this construction season, 2022, is probably going to be the most turbulent as far as securing prices to make sure you have some certainty to expect the costs that are happening. So again, we're seeing that across the board. We're still seeing projects happen, but we are having to take much more time and be much more diligent in our processes to ensure that those projects start and ultimately feel that they can be successful when they do start as well. We're also, again, working with industry leaders I had a board meeting last night for Downtown Moorhead Inc., and we obviously have a broad spectrum of folks that represent all sorts of markets. And again, it's not just the development side of it, it's supply chain issues at the grocery stores with Matt Lyseth with Hornbachers to, American Crystal Sugar trying to find workforce, you name it. I mean, it's all interconnected. I've had a lot of people approach us now representing kind of the city of Moorhead with, the ARPA dollars, but I fear that money is not just going to solve this issue. And obviously from the county's perspective and the city's perspective, that money only goes so far, right? We have a limit of what we have, and it's certainly gotta be sustainable, whatever ends up happening, whatever program comes into play. A couple other really quick things that I'll hit on that I certainly want to hear from the commissioners. Moorhead Center Mall project, we are looking to hopefully see some plans that will go public within the next 4 to 6 weeks, probably pushing more towards 6 weeks. Certainly the commission will see that before a time, but it's the project's really coming along nicely, even with some of these factors of the cost. I think the timing of that and the certainty that future years, I don't think we're going to go down in prices, but I think there'll be at least enough stability where people can plan ahead that we might be in a really good position with that project. But I don't think anything will really start until early 2023, and that will be a phased approach that will definitely have time to kind of plan out throughout the rest of the building. Moorhead's also hosting tonight the second open house for the Community Center Regional Library. That local option sales tax. We had a good turnout a couple weeks ago. We're expecting another good turnout tonight, but I know there's been a lot of conversations about that one and just how that could be another seed to that overall Moorhead Center Mall redevelopment project too. We also been getting a lot of calls on our Moorhead Industrial Park, and I think this is something that I think the county and other partners across the county that we'll continue to have conversations on. We have the largest shovel-ready site per deeds policy, so deed has a certified shovel-ready program. We also have the highest status in Moorhead with the local Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC's Document Ready program as well, so we have a platinum site. I think industrial markets are still extremely hot, and we are looking at creating some type of roadway expansion that will start hopefully at the end of this year that will provide access to more 1 to 2 acre lots. It could be consolidated if a larger project comes in, but I think across the county, industrial land is going to be an opportunity for folks, even in smaller communities. So we definitely got to keep our eye on that. And then maybe the last thing I'll mention, this is kind of just a little bit off topic, but I think it's worth sharing. You know, I think because of our partnership that we've started to really embed with the state, and especially through Minneapolis-St. Paul, we've had the opportunity to be a part of a group called the Minnesota Young American Leadership Program. They're closely tied with some very high-profile groups out of the Minneapolis-St. Paul market, as well as the Itasca Project and Minnesota State Chamber of Commerce. We have a group of 8 representatives from the Fargo-Moorhead cohort that are going to go down to that conference that is actually hosted by Harvard Business School. I participated in it a couple years back, and I think the ability for us to continue to share our story as a strong regional market, not only for quality of life, but success in business is important. And we got a really strong, diverse group that's going to represent our marketplace in May down in the cities. So happy just to continue to share a message to our state partners, because I think that's where our success is going to be, is obviously being a strong regional player, but also holding the state accountable to what we can offer from a success standpoint to the state of Minnesota. So lots of things happening. Would love to answer any questions or take any comments from the commission.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Derek, for the report. Board members, do you have any questions? Commissioner Ebbinger.
Just a comment, observation on the meeting we had with Commissioner Grove from Deed. Number one, I thought it was a great location. The Moorhead Public School Career Center. He got a tour of it before he came in, and anybody here that's had a tour of that facility knows you walk away. He was aware they should have one of that, something like that everywhere in the state. And we were cutting edge on that, and kudos to Moorhead Public Schools. But I was really pleased. Personally, I've expressed, as a member of this board, and other board members have expressed concerns about the Minnesota side getting their stepping out of the shadow of our partners to the west. And you did an excellent job at presenting the case for what a dynamic area this is. Joe Rosso from EDC and Shannon from the chamber also spoke up. It was just, I was sitting next to the commissioner and I was looking at him, and it was an aha moment for him. And he expressed that. And I really want to thank you for representing Moorhead and Clay County as well and as effectively as you did. That was a great opportunity, and I appreciate the fact it sounds like there's plenty of follow-up.
Well, I appreciate that comment, and yeah, I think it was so important for him to be here, right? I mean, that was the step one, is getting him here, and we wish we had more time with him to drive him around and show him different things. We ultimately didn't have that much time with him, but I think strategically having it at the Career Academy, which is an asset, I think that can be still built upon from our local partners here with other school districts to just business partnerships that exist as well. But you're absolutely right on kind of selling this market, and what we've been sharing, and I don't think this is going to be news to the commission here, is that we are the second largest metro in the state of Minnesota with over 250,000 people in this area. We have a huge play to the state, and we can't just be considered just a a rural town at the end of the road. So I think those kind of talking points are sticking with folks. And I think there's a lot more to come with those conversations as well.
Well, kudos to you and to the whole team that was there representing our area so well.
Thank you. Commissioner Campbell.
I want to follow up on what Commissioner Ebinger said, and your work on behalf of having to understand what kind of a community that we live in, and that even though there's a river here, there's so many ties that go on between us. And the 51% for grant opportunities, and as we talk about the more difficult it is to get into business, and looking for some of these grant opportunities is crucial. We in the city of Moorhead have been fortunate to have folks from Fargo invest everything they have into businesses in Moorhead. And they should not be denied opportunities to make sure that those businesses continue to thrive here. We talk about potential child care centers that may be needed in addition to child care in home. We may end up, there could be the case that there's experiences that are going on in Fargo of people who do that in Fargo that might want to move over to Moorhead and do that. And obviously centers are licensed by the state and not the county, so there's some state assistance that could be greatly used to do that. And when they have this threshold of ownership and where you're from, that can really impede on those things from happening. So selling the market has to include our neighbors to the west of us when it comes to investments into our communities. So thank you and if there's anything more that we can do to help spread that message and the concern about that, I think our board would certainly be willing to do that. We gladly take anybody who wants to invest into Moorhead, and you know, Derek, I think you know too that a real important component of our growth now is entrepreneurship that's going on. It's not necessarily just all these big projects that are coming in. We need the little ones, and the little ones need help. And somebody who might be from across the river wanting to invest in Moorhead, and they're denied some of those startup things that are available to others. It's really unfortunate. So thank you for what you're doing there. But
And a lot of it's just ease to get to those resources as well, right? Knowing the Innovate ND program that's offered through the state of North Dakota. There certainly is programs that are offered. I think the state of Minnesota offers more, but it's just not known well enough here, right? The access to get it, or the training that you have to drive a couple hours to get, or do it virtually, that just makes it a lot more complicated to just access it, right? So completely agree. And yeah, I think that residency requirement is such a big piece of it, because it extends, much further into our state, throughout our county. We're taking more of the approach that it certainly impacts us here, but it impacts all the border communities. So it's not just isolated to our area. It certainly matters on the Wisconsin border and others too. And there's a difference if you're an absentee owner. But when you're coming in and operating that business on a daily basis, that's where it feels different.
I also want to thank you. I have really noticed a strong swing in collaboration in terms of advocating in St. Paul for the area. And I know we've congratulated you before for representing all of Clay County on a lot of issues, not just Moorhead. So thank you for that. But I really do think that in order for us to get a piece of the pie that is being divvied out in St. Paul, it really is important to have a strong, united voice and to understand what our legislative priorities for Clay County or Dilworth or the city of Moorhead, all of our communities, we really need to advocate collectively. So thank you for highlighting the day, Moorhead Area Day at the Capitol that's coming up next week. I'm not quite sure who from this board, if any, would be able to attend that. But I think as we move forward, it would be helpful for us to have a list of priorities from all the different organizations, because so often if I'm making calls down there, it would be helpful to piggyback, please sponsor this bill, but also its sister bill that could also help one of our communities. I think as we move forward, that's probably in our best interest. And if there is a legislative priority list for your organization, share that with Steve so that we can continue to advocate that. One piece that you didn't mention was the House file that Chair Marquardt is sponsoring in terms of the Workforce
Yes.
Career Academy. That's been something you've worked really hard on. That's in collaboration with the Chamber and our universities and our schools. If we are able to secure that $10 million coming back so that the Barnesvilles and the Hollies of our community can access the programming there, that will be enormous. So thank you for the report and the continued conversations that we're having on, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but we do need to help people know what is out there. And so often, as Commissioner Gross has said many times, there are programs and help out there. Our citizens don't know about it. So as you continue your work, thank you for making sure that we're getting that information out to everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Not. Do you want to just briefly mention the ARPA dollars that we had allocated for Downtown Moorhead Inc., how that's helped?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, the commission has been very supportive. The county's been very supportive in what we do, and we appreciate your respect to the organization and what we can offer. I think the continual collaboration is one thing, but for us, it's really looking at expanding our horizons to continue to share that message. We are working with our private business investors right now, trying to keep those folks on board. There's still a lot of strong interest in Moorhead and kind of what this area is doing too. But certainly our abilities to sustain as an organization, but look at potential growth opportunities is really what that support has granted us too. So we thank you for that. And I'll be back more as well. I think there's some really exciting projects on the horizon. So I look forward to being back probably in a couple months' time to share some progress on that Moorhead Center Mall site, as I know the county has an interest in that site as well.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We
Appreciate it.
Item 3 on our agenda this morning is a request to fill a vacancy for a full-time environmental health position. Kathy McKay. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This request is because we received some funding for the state had allocated some funding for our 4-county CHB, and it's for epidemiology and data person analyzing all of the data for the 4 counties. We have an internal person who has that background and meets the requirements and is very interested in doing this. So it's a grant-funded position for 2 years. She serves right now as in the environmental health position with Kent. So we would need to fill that position before we're able to pull her over to do this new grant-funded position. So the request would be to fill that environmental health position, 1.0 FTE. Environmental health funding for the positions are through our food pool and lodging fees. So they have sustained that program. We have a lot of establishments, obviously, in Clay County, and plus they always do the septic systems and other things as well. So it's a pretty busy program area, and so we need the 2 FTEs for that. So grant funding for the new position going through the CHB is for 2 years, and the environmental health is obviously one of our permanent infrastructure positions. So.
Board question, Commissioner Campbell.
Yeah, thank you. Kathy, so you have a person who would be leaving the position there now to take this other tier, and they're aware that it's a grant position?
Yes. Unfortunately, they realize that if the state doesn't continue to fund it after 2 years and there's no opening, then there's no opening. So that's the unfortunate thing about grants, but She's aware of that.
Board?
Second.
Do you want to offer the motion?
Oh, I thought
You
you,
said no further questions.
oh, okay. Yeah, I move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger to approve the request, a second by Commissioner Campbell. Any further questions?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kaylee?
So just to be clear, this person that we have working in environmental services is moving over to the epidemiology position. The person that we hire then for environmental health, since that is the permanent position, that person would stay.
Correct.
And it's the other one that would leave if that grant goes away.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The request is granted. Thank you, Kathy. Your second item this morning is a request for out-of-state travel.
Yes, and this is grant-funded travel, so the expenses will be almost entirely paid by the grant. It's in Florida, July of '22, so this year. And this is with our Positive Community Norms grant, where we're working currently right now with the DGF school district on this Positive Community Norms. So we have one staff position who manages the program area, and then there will be some of the cohort people from DGF that will attend as well. But the request is only for our staff person, for airfare, hotel, rental car, conference fees. And so it's fully covered, and it is actually a required conference for this grant.
So you couldn't talk them into having a conference in January in Florida?
If I was going, I would have said January, but no.
Sorry.
Move for approval.
A motion by Commissioner Ebinger to approve,
Second.
a second by Commissioner Kaylee. Any further discussion?
I just think that whoever set that didn't have their priorities straight.
For sure.
It's probably cheaper.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The request is granted.
Thank you.
Item 5 this morning on our agenda is a request to appeal the findings of the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency's year-end review for the Clay County Feedlot Officer. We have Kevin Kassenberg this morning, Randy Shellox, one of the district supervisors, and Craig Halverson. Good morning, Kevin.
Morning, Commissioners.
Make sure your microphone is on. There you go.
Yep, they are.
Says green.
Yep.
Is it better?
Great. Kevin, you want to pitch this?
Sure. I guess this is a program that we've been dealt with the county feedlot officer since 2007. There had been previously complaints throughout the county. The county met with individuals from Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, developed a county feedlot officer, and in the meantime, transferred those responsibilities to the SWCD. Since that time, Craig Halverson has been our county feedlot officer and has worked with the program since the inception since we took it over. In the last 2 years, we've been put on out of compliance or on probation. Primarily, some of the minimum program requirements that have not been met with the MPCA. On April 5th, I received an email from the person who does the inspections of Craig's work, Molly Costin, basically stating to us that what was done hasn't met the minimum requirements that they require to be done. And primarily, they require a 7% inspection of the county feedlot numbers that we have. At this present time, was it 7 sites that were inspected last year. And the field work has been done. It's the paperwork is what we're finding is having some deficiencies. So the threat that MPCA has come back to us now, that's the second year in a row that has been falling a little bit short, is that there will be some potentially reductions in the state funding that we receive, that the county receives and is transferred to us. We met with Commissioner Mojo and Commissioner Campbell last week with a couple of our board members to go through the process of potentially making an appeal. There is, today's date is what they gave us as far as I guess, a formal request to appeal the decision. We tried to coordinate with Michelle Oy, who is the team lead for the MPCA. She's based out of Brainerd, Minnesota, excuse me. And trying to coordinate a time and a date has been a struggle. So I guess, Steve, you've been brought into the mix a little bit. You've prepared a couple of paragraphs I thought were very well stated, being you kind of brought in late in the process. But we've been unable to coordinate a meeting with them, and that's kind of the last I have heard. That's where we're at.
So Commissioner Campbell can probably speak to this after I do, understanding the historical perspective in terms of why and when we transferred this position to your umbrella. Just in terms of the timeline, this board probably would not be talking about this had those inspections not happened. But the inspections have happened, and it seems to be there's an issue just with the reporting piece. And your board has lobbied legislation to change the reporting program. There's several other counties that are in the same boat as us. It seems to be a technicality piece. And so we're hoping that by appealing this decision, we could either advocate for some additional training or help us to understand what are the real reasons as to where the problem is. I think it's important to note that while you do oversee the program and Craig is in this position, it still is a Clay County responsibility. We signed a memorandum of understanding, or a resolution for that matter, in 2007, understanding that. So the fact that you were notified April 5th that there was an issue, the deadline to appeal the findings are April 19th. The Clay County administrator had not been told of that by MPCA. So we feel there's a little bit of a problem in terms of those notifications as well, which is why we're having this conversation today. The deadline is today. We're hopeful that MPCA can come and we can have a discussion within the next week and a half or so, but certainly feel that historically this has really been something that's in Clay County's best interest. There are $3,000 that could be lost in terms of those credits should we lose this appeal, but I think Commissioner Campbell does have some comments on it.
Yeah, thank you. And I thank you, Kevin, for inviting me to come and talk with you guys about this. I want to go back. As a matter of fact, these agreements that were talked about that were signed in 2007 has my name on them. And just for the board's information, back prior to this, there was really there was constant complaining throughout the county about feedlot issues. I think if you go back and you look at some prior planning commission meeting minutes, you'll see and hear that there was even issues regarding all of those things that were going to our planning commission. And part of the reason behind that is all of those inspections were supposed to be done by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And unfortunately, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency did not have the manpower to constantly be doing these inspections, especially on a timely basis, when you have to deal all across the state. So after a lot of discussion and research, the county board did decide to take over, a Minnesota statute allowed us to take over that feedlot officer position. And we did that as a county. We took over that responsibility. And with that, there was still some funding that would come down from the MPCA, and I believe the number was $10,000. Am I correct? Okay. And so ultimately, the county then also invested additional dollars into that going forward. And so we implemented that, and we turned over, or we gave those responsibilities through a cooperative agreement with SWCD. And they agreed to take over and do that. And they did that since 2007. And since 2007, on this board, I have not we have not as a board received one complaint regarding feedlot issues in Clay County. That in itself says a lot, that something worked and it worked well. Going to what Commissioner Mojo just talked about, it's unfortunate the last 2 years, I think I'll use Craig's words, we got dinged, I think, and you know, with technology and all of these things being done on computer now, it can be easy to understand that somebody with Craig's age of experience that maybe isn't really up to date with some of these new things, and training is probably appropriate. And I think some of those can be fixed with something as simple as that. And I think we need to encourage that, and I think if we can get MPCA here to talk to them about that, I think we can work through those things. I do believe that we should appeal that decision as a board. I think we should appeal that decision for no other reason than to get to the table to talk about what are the best ways to make the corrections and the best opportunities to make those corrections. So, Craig, I appreciate all that you've done for a lot of years in Clay County and for all of the things that it just worked well. And the same goes to the SWCD board for working with Craig and for working with Kevin. This is a good deal, and I think it would be nightmarish for us to not continue moving forward in the manner that we have. So I guess I wanted to give that historical perspective, and I think, Frank, I think since you've been on there, you haven't heard any complaints either, and it's not necessarily so much about the money; it's about the process. I think that we need to make sure that we're correcting here and moving forward. So that's all I got to say.
Steve, did you have something to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, I did forward that email that we did send to the state for those of you that had not seen it. Also, just want to note to Commissioner Campbell's point, one of the frustrating portions of this is when Kevin and the staff met initially with the state, they read them off, the findings of the report. To this point, we have not seen the actual document to base on. So it's hard to move forward to making appeal. It's hard to make the necessary changes without knowing exactly what that is. And so we're hopeful that this appeal process will also get that document, which from the county's perspective as the oversight of this, we should be provided anyway. But
Further board questions on this piece? Commissioner Ebinger.
Since I've come to the board, I've heard nothing but good about this program. And it looks like the track record is excellent. And maybe the state has a valid point on some technical things we need to address, but they're not doing a real effective job of following the procedural methods that are set up to tell us what it is and to give us a chance to correct it. So I'm strongly in favor of appeal on this.
Commissioner Campbell.
Yeah, I just want to go back and thank you for that. And it's a reminder to us that as a county, we deal with Minnesota Pollution Control Agency on a lot of different things, not just with feedlots. We're in a cooperative agreement right now with building a new facility that they've helped us with in funding. They license our Prairie Lake Solid Waste Facility in Perm, which we are an actual ownership member. So we do work together with them, and this isn't suggesting that there should be anything but that cooperation. But when we have a difference of opinion on something, or there's a discrepancy in what we thought versus what they thought, then we need to be able to resolve those through dialogue. And the only way I can see us having dialogue at this point is to contest what they're doing. So, Madam Chair, I would move that we officially contest MPCA's decision on the
On the year-end review?
Yeah, on the year-end review of the SWCD.
We have a motion to appeal the findings by Commissioner Campbell
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Kaylee. Any further discussion? We will continue to work together to have all the partners around the table for that discussion. Certainly, when we hear back from MPCA, if you do, in the meantime, we'll make sure to coordinate the two conversations. Any further discussion?
Maybe if
Commissioner Campbell.
maybe if I can, I know I don't serve on the board, representation on the board with the SWCDA. I know Commissioner Kaylee, I believe that's yours, but I think in this regard, I think, just so you know, they brought me in for this discussion because of the historical perspective, so,
The MPCA piece.
yeah, on the MPCA piece, yeah, so.
Questions on that? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6 this morning, our building maintenance items. Our Facilities Director, Joe Olson. And you have our County Engineer, Dave Overbo, for the first two items.
Yes. Morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Members, first up on our list is, yes, I have Dave sitting here with me. Last Tuesday, we opened up bids for Comstock, Ulen, and Georgetown shops under the capital improvement project. We took them back, we reviewed, we worked with the building committee. We feel at this time we're going to step back, do some value engineering on the project, and come back with a different plan here. So appreciate all the vendors that gave the bids, but we would like to request to reject the bids at this time.
Thank you.
I move we reject all bids.
We have a motion by Commissioner Campbell to reject.
Second.
A second by Commissioner Gross. Certainly, as Derek Lapointe presented earlier, the markets and there are challenges to builders and those that are building. And it is our responsibility to do things in the most cost-effective manner. And sometimes that means that you have to reject bids. And I think that this action is certainly warranted by that. If you can't afford to do it for the price, you need to go back to the drawing board.
Yep.
So hopefully we can figure something out in the coming weeks, but
Yeah, we're
is what it is.
currently working with the building committee on a Plan B here that we think is going to be here sooner than later, I guess.
thank you. Anything else? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That request is granted. Item B this morning is a request to move forward with the bid for the capital improvement plan for the cold storage building at the Highway Department.
Yes, and this is the same day, last Tuesday, we opened up bids for this. There was one bidder on this. We do feel that price did come back within our budget, and we, along with the bids that we opened up, I reached out and got two different quotes for the electrical portion on the side of this project. And so I guess we feel it's a good joint project with MnDOT. At the end result's going to be a county building, but the MnDOT is letting us have that area, and right now they own 1/3 of the area, the concrete that's involved there, so they're walking away from that and in hopes to have a warm storage built on another section of the land. And we talked about an agreement. MnDOT is actually doing the agreement for us. We just reached out to them last week. We actually just had a building, it's our joint meeting that, maybe Dave, you want to?
Yeah, there's an agreement that we have with, it's kind of an operating agreement, and in part of the existing one, it states in there that this cold storage tent is in place, and it talks about ownership. Well, if they're going to walk away, that language is no longer valid. So essentially what we're going to do is just do a slight amendment to it, and it's going to remove that language and more than likely detail the
Agreed, yeah.
situation where the county's going to have our separate building, and then their plans is to build a warm storage building for their tow plows, so.
Great, Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. Yeah, this was brought before our building committee, and it all makes sense. The one thing that I was wondering about, anytime that we start changing ownership stuff, in the past, there's been historical questions, for example, of the old law enforcement center, who owned it? There was questions for a while now about our household hazardous waste building that's on Highway 10, who owned it? You know, and there was, until you really had to dig really deep, there wasn't clarity on ownership. And whatever we do here, I think maybe we should ask our county attorney to make sure that the historical record becomes clear, that what we're going to be doing becomes 100% ownership by Clay County.
We talked with MnDOT, of course, they're the ones doing it for us, but they're going to send it to us, and before we start any construction or anything like that, this will be in place and to the board for approval. So that's our goal. It sounded like maybe a couple more weeks that they're, and once we get that back, we can send it to you, Brian, for review and have it to board for approval too. So.
Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, I'm just going to agree with Commissioner Campbell. Our first argument we had was when I was chief of police over who owned the law enforcement center.
Yeah.
And there was no historical record other than 25 years of the city of Moorhead paying half the bills. It was kind of like a bad marriage. But we worked through it.
Yeah.
But some sort of documentation would have been great.
We were happy to have you there as tenants.
And we still are.
Yeah. The city of Moorhead is not directly involved with this, but we've also working directly with them, since all three of us have to agree to this and be on board with it. So
Gain their approval on what the two entities are doing out there, so we're all in good cooperation there, and they've been along for the entire process. And
So presented before us is to approve the bid from last week that came in under budget. That was to award gas to general contractor the bid. And then included with that would be the electrical quote, which was the low quote from CB and Sons Electric.
correct. Yep.
For $13,900, which still leaves us under budget in terms of what the initial estimate for the bonding was.
Yes, and a couple things too. I added in a little bit of permitting costs that we have to pay the city. And then also we did talk at the building committee about demoing costs of that building, taking it down. And we are currently, our plan was to have MnDOT quote it for us through the tent salt project, because the same company that's tearing down that tent would also have a price for that. And then Dave and I are reaching out to two different contractors to get a quote for that too. So we're on the hook for 2/3 of that, but we feel that even when those numbers come back, we'll be
So that is not included in.
not included at this time, because we're waiting for MnDOT to come back on a separate project that'll be at the end of April. But
Good plan.
the cost itself we think is going to be minimal.
And the nice thing is, if Joe does get a couple other numbers, we can compare that to the alternate number that MnDOT's getting, and we'll take the best number to remove our existing structure.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Gross has a question.
When they build that warm storage or whatever, are we going to be involved with that one too then?
No,
Go ahead, Dave.
the only thing would be is, depending on where they place it. And right now, the best option we think for them, because it's got to be a drive-in, drive-out situation, so there's not a lot of room there. So, but no financial, we're not storing anything in there, we're not paying for anything. So other than just, aside from, the county and the city would have to give some approval on where they put it, but other than that, that would be it.
Madam Chair, I would move that we accept the bids presented to move forward with the project not being started, though, until we have county attorney's opinion that all the legal ownership issues are clear.
Okay, there is a motion on the table. Brian, is that clear? Thank you. A motion was by Commissioner Campbell. There's a second from Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion? Thank you for your coordination. I know that that's been really helpful to have you both at the table. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Your request is granted this morning. Thank you. Item C is a request to move forward with the HVAC improvement project at the Government Center using ARPA funds.
Yes, so this is, we've found over the course of the year, some issues at the heating at the government center, when it comes to the heating and cooling. we've worked with an engineer to kind of dial in on what some of the issues are, and there's 8 units in the back that are, I think they're 17 years old now, and they've been nickel and diming us. So this kind of came up right as we were approving the capital improvement plan, so it didn't quite make this plan, but it definitely qualifies for ARPA funds. What we're asking, one of the things we're asking today is, we did have some money left over in the, with some of the projects that came back in the original money that the board approved for the ARPA HVAC projects that we were running. So we're actually asking for an additional amount of money to do that. We're asking, oh, I thought I had it. Yeah, we're asking for an additional $81,268 to be added to this and to move forward with this project. There's 3 separate components of this project. One is replacing all the units in the back outside. The other one is to add heat panels, and these are, everybody's running heaters in their exterior offices that have windows because the storefront windows are so big. This is a more economical way, so we're adding that, and then we're adding a couple cooling units to help out as well. So between it all, we have 2 different, for the units, we have 2 different quotes, but the low quote came in at $117,570 by Excel Mechanical, and then the heat panels, we're asking CB and Sons Electric as the low quote, $17,500, and then Dakota Plains Mechanical came in at the low quote for the mini split unit. So added in with some contingency and some control. So.
Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. Maybe there's not clarity here, because I'm a little confused on this too, because we did meet as a building committee. And,
Yep.
And the HVAC project for the government center was originally put in the capital bonding project, was it not?
No, that was originally, oh, no, yeah, the government center, you're asking, say that again, sorry.
The government, the project we're talking about, the HVAC for the government center.
Yep.
The entire project was originally included in the bond side for funding, not the ARPA funds.
It wasn't in either one. It never made that bonding side. So that's what happened.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't it wasn't ever on the capital bonding plan at all until.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
so what we talked about doing, because it could still potentially qualify under the capital improvement bond.
Yeah,
But, so the request is to really put the entire amount under ARPA,
yes, exactly, yep.
right? Just so
Be
we're
more
clear.
yes, yep.
Because like all the other projects, HVAC projects that we did, whether they were at the Family Service Center here or wherever they were, all of those qualified and were paid under ARPA, and this would just follow suit with the rest of them.
Yes, yep.
So we originally, the total of ARPA number that we had was $1 million.
Yep.
Yeah.
$1,200,000.
Yep.
And so what Joe is basically saying here is we still have about 81,000 of those dollars, but we need to have another 81,000 added to what the previous commitment of ARPA funds were.
Yes.
So instead of that being 1.2, it'll get us closer to 1.3.
And what that will also do was free up allocated bonding dollars for other items that this board has already identified as a priority. So it really is just shifting things and making it a little cleaner.
Well, and part of that, and part of why it's important to do that is because there are certain capital improvement projects. We got a good bid on the one today, but we also had some that were skyrocketed and that were
Yes.
more, and it goes to even what Derek was talking about this morning, based on when we originally did those capital bond numbers, we had estimates that are, now they're not attainable.
Right.
But by doing this, it still keeps, gives us a little bit more access to the capital bond projects to finish those.
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification.
Questions from the board? I know that in terms of building committee, Commissioner Gross and Commissioner Campbell were part of that discussion.
Yep.
Commissioner Gross, do you have anything further to add? Any other questions on this piece? Well, I think this is an important project. If you've ever been to certain staff members' offices in the morning or in the summer when it's 85 degrees, or in the winter when it's 53 degrees, we owe this to our staff. Further questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the,
We have a motion by Commissioner Gross to approve, a second by Commissioner Ebinger. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This request is granted. Item D this morning is a request to move forward with the capital improvement plan for condensation tank replacement project at the Family Service Center.
Yep, this is one that's pretty simple. It's part of the ARPA-approved projects is what it is. It's a big tank down in the tunnel that's related to the air handler, so it's 30 years old, it's springing leaks. We've gotten 2 quotes here, so I am asking to move forward with replacing this tank using Dakota Plains Mechanical, the amount of $25,700. So, and I believe we had a $28,000 budget on this one. I think so. We came in under on this one.
Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Campbell to approve,
second.
a second by Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This request is carried. Thank you so much, Joe, for
Yep.
your coordination on this. It's
Yep.
taken a lot of work, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We are scheduled for a quick 5-minute break. We will go ahead and resume in 5 minutes. Thank you. Item 8 this morning, our highway engineer, David Overbo, is here with several items. The first is a request to approve to advertise for the mill and bituminous overlay project on CASA 52.
Yes, we have been waiting to get this one rolling. We finally got federal aid approval. I think I might have touched on this a little bit with our departmental updates, that we have 3 big bituminous bids to happen this year yet. We got County Road 12, I think, coming up May 10th. County Road 31 coming up on May 17th. And then this one would be for County Road 52 on the north end. It starts at the I-94 bridge. It goes to a little outskirts of Moorhead, goes all the way down to the very south side of Sabin. So we're going to plan for opening bids on that May 24th.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Move to advertise.
Motion by Commissioner Campbell to advertise. A second by Commissioner Kaylee. Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This request is granted. Item B this morning is a request for approval of agency agreement and supporting resolution for 2022-16 with MnDOT.
Yes, this is they call it Advanced Construction Agreement. So we have federal aid dollars on both 31 and 52. In order to get those dollars, what they like to do on some bigger projects is they put dollars in both years. So we've got federal aid coming in 22 and 23, and that way if they need to shift dollars around when they're approving the STIPs for the whole district, they've got some flexibility there. And in order to do that, we're going to be advancing the $23. So it's kind of a standard agreement and resolution that needs to come with it. Nothing changes. We have the same amount of federal aid dollars. It's just it's a flexibility thing that kind of comes through the district. So, and it's with the state.
Commissioner Gross offers the motion to approve resolution 2022-16.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This request is granted. Item C this morning is a request for approval of agency agreement and supporting a resolution for 2022-17 with MnDOT.
Yeah, so this is the exact same agency agreement for County Road 52. Just to note, the federal aid dollars on the previous agreement resolution was $2,050,000 of federal aid dollars. This agreement is funded at a level of $1,500,000 $400 for County Road 31. So got about 4 million, just about 3.5 million of federal aid dollars coming in between these two projects.
Commissioner Campbell.
I have a quick, so how does how do the feds determine their portion of a project? Is it based on the estimate, or how does that work?
So it's a little bit more than that, and it kind of comes through the district. So we sit down with all the other county engineers. There's a
That's
target
the
level.
STIP thing?
Yes, the STIP meetings. Yep, comes through the STIP meetings. The most you can ever get funded is 80%. Most big projects don't get funded at 80%. And then a little deeper than that, every county, all the 12 counties have target numbers, so it's fair. So we get a certain amount, Otter Tail doesn't get all the money all the time, and neither is Clay or Douglas or Wilkins. So essentially, we have target numbers, and we get as close to that as we can. So Clay County will not be in the running, so to speak, for federal dollars for quite a while, being that we're getting 3.5 million. But, we get our dollars, and then, as our target numbers, we get back in line. Like right now, we were first or second for this, and now we're going to go down to 12 and come back up, so.
I was just curious, based on what we see now, what's happening in a lot of
Right.
bids coming in much higher than probably when it was talked about at STIP.
Right. And we have adjusted those numbers a little bit, but there is some thresholds. You can only adjust them so many times. When you do adjust your estimate based on market, it's got to go back through and become a STIP amendment. Is that right?
Thank you.
Board wishes.
I'd move approval of Resolution 2022-17.
Commissioner Campbell offers a motion to approve Resolution 2022-17,
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Item D this morning is a bid opening and potential approval of a low bid for 4 bridge replacements. Attachment L.
Yes, this is for 4 bridge replacements with concrete box culverts, which, like I mentioned last week, they're extremely hard to come by, and I believe they're probably not going to be available in 2022, but I believe we did get a good amount of interest. We've got a good amount of bids. 2 of the projects are on county roads, County Road 68 and County Road 69, and there's 2 of these projects we're going to be delivering for the townships using their town bridge funds, and that's one is in Elkton Township, just south of the interstate, kind of south and east of Downer, and then one's in Cromwell Township, which is kind of west of Holly and north of Highway 10.
So we do have a bidders list. The initial engineer's estimate on this, I believe, $778,512.50, correct?
Yep. And we did receive 8 online bids. We did not receive any paper bids. So I will just go through the list of the electronic bids that we received.
Just really quick before you do that, yesterday a bid was received at the government center. Was that not this?
That is for yearly supplies, which opens on Thursday.
Good deal. I appreciate that. I want us to continue to make sure that before these are opened in the future, that we're coordinating now that there are 2 campuses.
And I did talk to the auditor's office right at 9 to make sure there wasn't any additional ones that came in.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay.
Maybe make note too, there's probably 1 or 2 that might not be on the bidders list.
Yep.
Let them know.
So we don't actually have access to see who bids. We
Yep.
just have a total number. So the first bid actually won't be on the list.
Okay.
So the first bidder is Williams Excavation and Seeding LLC. They do have a bid bond in the amount of 5%, and their bid is $1,379,935.00. $1,379,935.00. The second bid is Central Specialties Incorporated. They do have a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $1,355,240.00. $1,355,240.00. The next bid is Celine Brothers Incorporated out of Holly. They do have a bid bond in the amount of 5%, and their bid is $1,239,533.00. $1,239,533.00. The next bid is Riley Brothers Construction Incorporated out of Morris. They do have a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid is $1,104,932.00. $1,104,932.00. The next bid is Gladen Construction Incorporated. They do have a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their total bid is $1,091,702.86. $1,091,702.86. The next bid is Midwest Contracting LLC. They do have a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their bid amount is $1,083,961.00. $1,083,961.00. The next bid is Landwehr Construction Incorporated. They do have a bid bond in the amount of 5%. Their total bid is $1,083,894.20. $1,083,894.20. And the final bid is Hool Excavating LLC. They do have a bid bond in the amount of 5%, and their bid total is $996,247.25. $996,247.25.
Okay, I have a question in regards to the funds that are going to pay for a potential project. Are we capped at what additional dollars we can seek on this?
I don't believe, two of the projects are town bridge funds, so those can get funded as per the bid. The other two are county road projects. On a CASA project, those are split 50-50 between bridge bonds and our county state aid account. These are county road funds, so they're funded a lot better, a lot higher. So we will put together the abstracts the way the state wants them and send them in, and in return, they will send a funding letter back. But I do not believe we are capped. I think what happens is once you have a bid and you send that abstract in, you get your funding letter back. That is the cap, So then during construction, if things go in excess of that cap, then the counties are then liable for that increase. But I do not believe at this time that we are capped based on the estimate and the bid. So I'm hoping that there's additional dollars that could fund above and beyond the estimated funding.
Does the bid have to be approved in order to seek the additional funding?
Oh, I guess
Not sure on that.
probably not, but
check
we
that.
could contingently approve it based on additional funds from the state, that the fact that they're gonna fund, or we could bring it back in a week.
Yeah, well, I think we should, because it is over, I think we should probably bring it back in a week, see what you can find out. I think it's difficult for local entities to approve bids in hopes that they could appeal to more
Right.
funding at the state. It seems like a cart before the horse type thing, but
And maybe it won't be a week, but as soon as we find out, we could bring it back. Is that for final approval?
Can I have
Commissioner Campbell.
So these projects, especially the county projects, are part of our 5-year plan, correct?
Right.
And so the funding source that in the 5-year plan that we used, was this the state aid allotment plus local money, or where money was it?
We cannot use state aid on these two because they're,
So this was local money.
right, yeah. So we showed a minimum amount of our county levy dollars on our 5-year plan. We show 10,000 apiece on each one, so that would be an increase.
So what additional funding would we get from the state if it's all?
Bridge bond dollars.
Okay, so that would be the bridge bond dollars. Okay. And so we had estimated a dollar amount to be funded by bridge bond dollars, and then another amount for the local.
Right.
The two of those numbers together paid for it within our 5-year plan.
Yep, our estimate was 120,000 for each of our two projects, and in the 5-year plan, we've got 110,000 from bridge bond funds, 10,000, which is kind of the cap, because not everything is eligible, so we show 10,000 of county funds. So the estimate is what, about $200,000 more than the bids, and if it was equal, which I would think it would be similar, that would be 50,000 per the 4 different projects. So one can assume maybe ours is 100,000 more than our estimate, and the township structures would be 100,000 more than the estimate. So it kind of looks like, if, like I said, we have to dissect it a little bit more, but it could be a half and half. So like I said, their projects are eligible to go over. It's their dollars that comes down. So it kind of looks like the most we would see if they didn't fund us more dollars. And I think it would only be if there was not enough town bridge or bridge bond dollars, if there wasn't enough in the account, but I don't believe that they ever completely spend that down to a point where they don't cover things like this, because there's been many years where we've given dollars back. We get funded for a certain amount, our estimates are a little conservative, our bids come in good, and then some of the anticipated dollars go back too. We've had that for years and years, because normally when we put our pipe prices together, we get our numbers from like Hancock and Forterra, and then they quote the contractors a much better number so we're pretty conservative. So typically we give, so to speak, dollars back, or the anticipated bonding dollars that we get pre-bid are usually lower after the bid. So I think it kind of comes and goes. So I'm pretty confident we will get funded the additional dollars based on the bid.
Questions? I think,
Oh, excuse me.
sorry, Commissioner Gross.
On our plan, we only show 3 bridge replacements. Now, this is 4, and is one of these a township one?
2 of them are township, and we don't typically show the town bridge funds on our 5-year plan.
Further questions? I think bringing it back to the table to investigate a little further probably makes the most sense.
And I think timing is not an issue. Like I said, I think these will be 23 construction anyway,
Okay.
so timing's not an issue. So that'll work just fine.
I think in addition to getting the answer to your question, I think it would be helpful for us to have an idea on how much does that change the investment of our local dollars to the projects?
Yep.
That's important to know what that.
Yeah.
And that would be detailed out on the funding.
Okay,
too.
very good, thank you.
Okay, let's move into item E then, which would be the bid opening potential approval of the low bid for a 7th Street reconstruction project. That project is in Dilworth. Dilworth City Administrator is here as well. Sorry. Who's opening this one?
All right, we have the city engineer, Dan Hansen,
Sorry, Dan, sorry.
from Moore Engineering with us. So the county, if you remember, we are the sponsor for the local road improvement program dollars that has been awarded to the city of Dilworth. Is it $1.25 million?
That's correct, yep.
And then, so all we need to do is make sure that the state rules are followed. And in this case, we just made sure the advertisement was as it is. They use a little different electronic bidding software. It's called Quest CDN. And Dan has those numbers, so we will, maybe you want to just touch a little bit on the estimate and then maybe go through your bids quick?
Can I just briefly, the bid opening sheet that we have, is this the one that's the 4.5 million?
That's the total project.
Right, I just wanted to make sure I had the right slip. Okay.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. And just first off, thank you to Clay County and the engineering staff for supporting us, the city of Dilworth, with this project. It is a very critical project to the city of Dilworth, and the engineering staff has been fantastic to work with through the process. So, as stated, we did open up, we preliminarily opened up the bids earlier online, and we're just here to present them. We had 3 bidders that submitted bids, and I'll just go through the 3 bids. Dakota Underground had a bid of $5,499,251.43. That was $5,499,251.43. Northern Improvement, they had a bid of $5,481,042.10. Again, $5,481,042.10. And the apparent low bidder is Celine Brothers at $5,447,075. And again, that was $5,447,075. So obviously, the bid amount is considerably higher than the engineer's estimate. That engineer's estimate was put together because the city of Dilworth does special assessments, and we had to put together the original feasibility study back in June of 2021. So the engineer's estimate that was presented is the engineer's estimate that was on that bid, or on that document almost a year ago. So we did anticipate that the bids were going to come in considerably higher, given what's happened with supply issues over the last year. And I did have a quick discussion with the apparent low bidder, and I asked him where the differences was, and basically he said PVC prices have doubled in the last year, and then also there was only one supplier of concrete pipe and structures that submitted a bid to be a sub to the prime contractors on the project, and their material costs were what the estimate was at that time. And honestly, the 4.5 million estimate last June was fairly conservative. We've seen obviously quite a jump in the amount of material prices and things like that. So the city of Dilworth will be meeting at the regularly scheduled council meeting on Monday, and they would make a recommendation at that council meeting to recommend Clay County award this project to Celine Brothers. So the ask for today would be for the commission to approve the award to Celine Brothers contingent upon the city of Dilworth on Monday night recommending award to Celine Brothers to the county.
Okay. Board members, are you clear in what the ask is in terms of what Dilworth's direction would be? So looking for an approval of the low bid contingent upon awarding that by the Dilworth City Council next Monday.
Correct.
And so if the Dilworth City Council doesn't award it, then this is not an action, or it's not actionable.
Correct.
Okay. Board wishes.
Move approval as described.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Kaylee to award the bid in contingent on action from the city of Dilworth,
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Ebinger. Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Thank you again, I appreciate it.
Again, thank you for your work. Thank you, Peyton and staff. Anything else? Okay, the next item this morning is our public input on our 5-year capital improvement plan. This plan has been available online on our county website. If you do a search, you're able to see the breakdown and the funds and the sources and the timelines. But Dave, if you'd like to highlight that, that would be great.
So as you all know, this is a 5-year construction program. All counties are required by the state to put this together, and essentially I think it means you are being a good steward of your gas tax dollars. So everyone puts it together. We try to get it out there to at the township level on our website, and then we hold public input meeting anyway, to explain and go through the projects, gather input. There is times where we do receive public comments, and it's good. And then if we're missing something that the locals out there are driving over every day, would like to see improvements made, at that time we can add it to our list. So I will go through the 5 years rather briefly, because I think you maybe heard it a few weeks ago. On the top right part of each page is the funding that we get, and you can see there's 4 different types of funding there. In blue, we've got the regular construction allotment, as well as in kind of orange there, that's the state aid municipal allotment. And the regular construction dollars can be spent on any road, whether it's in the small cities or not. The orange dollars, the municipal construction, can only be spent within the small cities and or the city of Moorhead. And the green dollars, that's our local levy. That level is $400,000, and that's held constant regardless of how much gas tax we get. It's non-independent of that. And then the wheelage tax, that comes from the $10 per vehicle registered in Clay County. That number has stayed fairly constant as well. So in this given year, the allotments went up a little bit due to the amount of gas taxes collected. And it's more than that. It's also the registrations, it's the sales on leased vehicles, and the sales on auto parts as well. So in 2022, we got $4,278,531, which is probably $500,000 more than it was last year, which is really nice to see. And I'm crossing my fingers that that continues at that level because as we go to next year, we did increase our funding level a little bit, our planning level funding up to 3.9 million. And so we held the next 4 years at 3.9 million. The state aid municipal, we got $361,455 for 22, and we kept that back to kind of a conservative level of $240,000 for the rest of the plan. We kept the levy dollars at $400,000. We're assuming we're going to keep that constant. And then the wheelage tax as well, we kept that at $350,000. We do share some of the wheelage tax dollars with all the small cities as well as the city of Moorhead. So there is more dollars collected than the 350, and we share that with some of the other communities that have registrations as well, and they can do projects in their city with some of the money. So for FY22, the first three projects are bridge replacements and a bridge removal. We don't exactly know dollar amounts on the North Broadway Bridge other than it's kind of a planning level number that we got from the state. They're going to cover a large our part anyway of the removal. So that's kind of targeted $168,750. That was kind of an estimated number that was worked through a planning group, and it kind of came from the state. So like I said, we talked about additional bridge bond dollars needed for the bids we did today. That's all coming out of the same pot of money, even when where the North Broadway Bridge removal is, and that would be our share. I think we kind of targeted a certain amount. We split it in half with City of Fargo, and then Clay County's share is the $168,750. So the first three projects are bridge removals. The next three projects are our big overlays that'll be opening up May 10th, May 17th, and May 24th. That's on County Road 12, 52, and 31. 31 again is south of Holly, and it starts on the south end at the Wilkin-Clay County line, and it goes north 9.5 miles. All three of these roads are older, they're aged, their ride has been compromised by their age, as well as their very high two of the three have extremely high traffic. You can see 6,500 and 5,200. That's a lot of traffic for our area. Those are probably the two highest roads we have. I think once the toll bridge opened up, it took an a lot of traffic off of Wall Street. Wall Street used to be probably the highest road we have, but when the toll bridge opened up, it seemed like it made a big shift there. Project number 7 is the grading on County Road 1. That has been opened already. So as soon as the box culvert for the north end of the project is delivered, they can start removing the old roadway and hauling it north, and then hauling in the new materials back in. So it's we've heard that's probably July timeframe for getting that pipe. So we might not see construction getting real hot until about July or so. We've also got a bridge replacement project 7 and 8, that's the combined project up on County Road 1. County Road 2 is a urban reconstruct in the city of Comstock. That one is kind of a cooperative project that we're doing with the FM diversion. We are still in the design phase on that one. We're trying to get things to a letting time frame, but there's stormwater work that still is in the final completion on that. And then County Road 19, that's our turn lane project cooperatively with the city of Glendon. We're just waiting to get the agreement put together on that, and then we'll start advertising for that project. I'll go to year 23 next year.
Any questions on 22? Okay.
Okay. The first three projects, again, are bridge replacements. These projects, correct me, Justin, are they all three on the waiting list? Or? That is correct. Okay, so all three projects are designed, approved by the state, and on their bonding waiting list. So as soon as dollars are allocated, we should get funding on those. Project number 14 is the paving on County Road 1. So that is a follow-up to the grading from this year. Project 15 is a mill and overlay on County Road 3 or 11th Street North, north of the, starts right at the corner of American Crystal and it goes up to Wall Street. We're kind of trying to coordinate that one with the city of Moorhead. They've got a little flood reduction project where they're tying a levee into our roadway. So we're trying to minimize disruption to the traffic in our county by combining that. County Road 34 is a mill and overlay up in the city of Ulen. So it starts on the east side of Ulen. It goes easterly through kind of a area that's got a big dip. There's a big drainage system that goes through there. So we're going to try to correct a little bit of that dip there, as well as just mill and overlay 2.8 miles. County Road 18, that's our FDR in mill and overlay project. That one starts kind of at the Buffalo River Bridge there, or a mile or so east of the Buffalo River Bridge, and goes to Trunk Highway 9. We got $800,000 in local road improvement funds for that one, so I'm kind of looking forward to getting an update. There's a couple miles of gravel shoulders on there, and I know in the fall when the beats get going there, I usually hear that one there. It's a little narrow, and you don't want to fall off the edge of that asphalt. So it's a good improvement, and it can't come quick enough, I guess, in my opinion. Project 18 is County Road 75. That's just by the Benedict pit there. So we're going to try to freshen up the asphalt there. It's extremely aged. It must have a really good base because it's hanging in there, but it doesn't look very good. And we're going to try to get 0.6 of a mile done there. We're also working with Braun Intertech on some geotech on that one because it's pretty dicey. We're in an area that there's a major asphalt facility there, and we wanted to get this one dialed in. So when we start the construction, it doesn't take all summer. I think we're going to try to put a pretty tight window on that one so we can get in. I think the current plan is to do kind of more of a removal. There's an existing cement treated base there that we're hoping is in good shape, and then we can put new asphalt right on top. So we've met with the asphalt plant there, and they figure it could be a 2-week project if everything is planned and the materials out there are as we think. So we're kind of dialing up the design on that one, and we were going to meet yesterday with Braun Intertech to go through that a little bit more detail, but weather has already delayed that meeting twice. County Road 19, mill and overlay, that is from County 26 down to the city of Averill, kind of north of Holly. And then 26 is our first year on the 26 project, where we're going to try to get from east of Trunk Highway 9 all the way to the Red River. So that's kind of phase 1 there, 7.5 miles of County Road 26 mill and overlay.
Mm-hmm. Questions?
I guess I'm probably going into more detail, but I like this stuff, and it's kind of fun to go through it. So
It's important for the public to hear.
Starting on FY24, there again, we got 3 bridge replacements. We have a couple of them northeast of Georgetown on County Road 36. Those are some real big pipe they're I don't know if I'd say they're driveway pipes, but they're side road culverts. They don't go under 36, but they're large pipe. Project number 24 is mill and overlay on County Road 11. Starts at the Felton Piler on CASA 34, and it goes up to the county line. There's a lot of ag traffic up there. We get a lot of calls especially during beat time. The road's getting a little rough and much more noticeable in a big truck than it would be in a car. County Road 14, I've been waiting for this, Project 25 is on 14. Been waiting for this for an awful long time. That we have federal aid dollars for bridge replacement. That is just west of the Glendon Piler. Project 26 is on County Road 26. That would be kind of phase 2 of the 26 project. That's a 9.5 mile section. As you all know, there is a lot of rutting on that road, so it's very important we get that the ride corrected on that and get rid of them ruts. They hold a lot of water when it rains. And we have a couple of projects in the city of Dilworth, Project 27 and 28. First one is on CASA 9. starts at Trunk Highway 10 and it goes 2 miles north to our 18. And then County Road 45 is kind of over by the Burlington Northern Yard. There's a small section of County Road there that will be nice to kind of tie into the work that the city of Dilworth has done. So 0.6 of a mile, we're just looking at a mill and overlay there. And then County Road 3 is our share of the 11th Street Underpass project. We've allocated $1 million of regular state aid and $500,000 of municipal. So our contribution is at 1.5 million for that project.
Questions from the board?
So the red numbers there that are under the state aid, that is the local funds, right? I mean, the
red or orange?
no, the
They
red.
look red on, are you talking about like the 11th Street underpass? It
Yeah,
talks
the
about state aid funding.
500 and the 350, that's the municipal dollars.
Oh, right,
State
correct.
dollars,
Yep, that's our
correct?
municipal state aid gas tax dollars, you bet.
Okay. All right, then final year.
Well, we got 25 and 6 yet.
Oh.
2 left.
Fourth.
FY '25, we've got the first 3 projects are bridge replacements, and then we've got the tieback levee kind of work down there. This is the county share, so it actually would be on the west end of the tieback levee and goes to the Red River. It's 3.5 miles, kind of ties everything together there. 3,000 cars a day on that road, so it's going to be nice to upgrade that one. County Road 34, we're looking at doing some work from County Road 11 to Trunk Highway 9. So it's County Road 34 has been, those sections of road between like 26 and Highway 34 were done a long time ago, so it's nice to get back there. When you do get out there, you can see there's a lot of patchwork that's being done, a lot of spray patching, so you can see there's been plenty of maintenance on there. It'd be nice to get back and get those ones milled and overlaid so the ride is much better. We put some seal coat on various roads, so after you do overlays for X amount of years, you need to go back and put a seal coat on there to protect your investment. The best analogy I've ever heard is it's like putting sunscreen on your road. So essentially you put that seal coat on there, it's like putting on sunscreen. It gives it more life. It doesn't allow it to rot from the top down. The sun and the oxygen are hard on roads, so seal coats are very important. In fact, you're seeing those come on much sooner than you used to. Years ago, it was 5 to 7 years for a seal coat. There's now where they're actually recommending you do them within year 1 or year 2. It's because you don't really want to lose them first 5 years. There's no reason to lose all that life. As that life, you start losing it and you put a seal coat or an overlay on it, your life kind of comes back. But the longer you wait, the more you can't get back to your original, like your original ride and your integrity of roadway. So we're trying to keep up with our seal coats. We could probably do a little bit better, but there's just so much need out there. We've got roads falling apart that we want to fix, and then you think about the seal coating, it's kind of hard to balance it, but we don't want to lose that balance.
Questions? All right.
All right,
Next.
final year, FY '26. The first 3 projects are bridge replacements, and then we've got County Road 11. That's 336. That's our, these are all new projects. So we sat down and essentially we probably have 3 years worth of projects that we wanted to try to fit in on the end of the plan here. And I've been getting a lot of calls on the narrowness of this road. This is the one that goes by the Moorhead Airport,
Yep.
Titan Machinery, and it goes down. It's 4.1 miles. 10 years ago or so, we started doing a survey to regrade this roadway. And we decided that maybe we could put an overlay on it and just kind of limp it down the road, and we did that. The overlay was done in 2 different years. It was mostly done in-house, and then we brought the gravel shoulders back up, and it's performed fantastic. The roadway itself is in really, really good shape. It's funny how an overlay like that can, and there's 1,500 cars a day on there and a lot of heavy traffic, but I'm just worried about the narrowness of the road, the amount of beat traffic on this one, and so we put it on there for a regrade in year 26. I'm going to continue to try to get either federal dollars or some kind of grant dollars on this one, if I can, because I think it's got enough things going for it. It's on an interchange to the interstate, and there's an airport on it. There's a major, there's big businesses. There's seed businesses south of here. So, and it ties into the city of Sabin, so I'm going to continue to work for grant dollars on that one. The last two projects, one of them's in the city limits of Ullin. We've heard and saw there's issues with the roadway there, so we're going to try to get out to Ullin and work exclusively within the city and make some corrections there. Last project is on Highway 34. So aside from all the work we're doing on 26, we've also kind of tried to make commitments to Highway 34. So I think in this plan, we will essentially work from Trunk Highway 9 all the way to Georgetown. So we're kind of excited to also kind of get back to some of these corridors that go all the way across the county. We don't want to forget about them. They're big, long stretches, big commitments that were done in the 90s, prior to my coming to work here, and now we're circling back and we're going to freshen those up. The very last project, as you see there, it's 7 miles of mill and overlay. Making commitments to kind of make sure we don't forget about some of the roads in the outer skirts of the county.
Okay, Commissioner Campbell.
Just a brief comment. We met with folks at Glendon Township here the other night, Commissioner Gross and I, and one of the conversations was on 12.
Right.
And when you talk about us doing and I know that's not on this plan, but it's on your radar for one of those following years. But as you talk about potential things going for the Trunk Highway 336 to Sabin project and potential additional dollars, it'd be interesting to see if we could incorporate something that would include, because that project starts just a half a mile east, probably less than half mile east of there, and goes for 2.5 miles.
Right.
I just think it's something that as you move forward and looking for additional funding, maybe that would be one that would be, because you talk about a corridor. That's been talked about long-term as a corridor that would go all the way from the Red River to 94.
Right, 60th Avenue South is the road, and
Right.
it was reconstructed by the previous administration probably 25 years ago. It's 40 feet wide. It's a graded roadway. There's probably some small pockets there that might have to be reworked, but essentially it's asphalt ready today, and it's been like that for quite some time. It's a lot of work for our guys to maintain. Typically, we maintain 22 to 24 foot wide roadways. This thing's 40 feet wide. And every time we resurface it with gravel, we've got to surface 40 feet, not 25 feet. So it's costly. It's even kind of hard to maintain because you've got a big, roads that are 24 feet wide, our mow boards are only like 14 feet wide. So when they're tilted, it's kind of hard to actually maintain a 40-foot ride.
Right.
You're making multiple passes there with the motor grader.
Well, I would encourage, if you're looking for additional funding opportunities, and if that's available, I think that 12 extension, to move that up would be an excellent opportunity for us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, I know this is an opportunity for the public to provide input on this. Steve, have you had any correspondence from the public wishing to address this item?
Madam Chair, I did not receive any additional feedback.
Okay. There's no one in the room. However, there is still opportunity, as there always is, for citizens to reach out to your department and offer feedback and/or photos if we see a deterioration happening faster. That's always helpful. I've said this a couple years, but I do know that there is a future arterial growth road identified, not necessarily on our work plan, but through MetroCog. I think is it County Road 67 into Sabin is the identified one. And I know we've talked about doing, as Commissioner Campbell talked about, upgrades to County Road 12 that is north a few miles of that. But certainly as you have your internal committee discussions, to continue to keep that in the back of our head as a potential if that were to come to fruition. I am always thankful when I see our dollars spread out throughout the entire county. So I'm thankful to see we have some projects on the docket for the far eastern and north and south reaches of Clay County. I think it's important for those residents particularly with the challenges that the aggregate trucks are presenting to our roads. I know that's a constant battle, and I know you're on top of that, but Commissioner Campbell?
in addition to the public input, one of the things that we always do with our 5-year plan is we present it at a special meeting with our township officers. They've all seen this and have had an opportunity to weigh in on the different projects as well. So I just wanted to.
Any other comments? Well, the item on the agenda is looking for an approval of the 5-year capital improvement plan that's presented. There have been times in the past where, because of bids being higher or lower, we've been able to either bring in a project that is a dire need or shuffle things around to support the funding streams.
Move approval of the 5-year plan.
A motion by Commissioner Campbell to approve the 5-year capital improvement plan,
Second.
and a second by Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion?
I do want to, just to follow up on what you just said, and that is the fact that this 5-year plan is just that. It's a plan, and it's all subject to our availability of federal, state, and local funding being what we anticipate, plus being in line with what our engineers estimate for projects.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is passed. Thank you very much. Board, I'd like you to direct your attention to the earlier item in the agenda where we approved the minutes. I asked for approval of the minutes from the County Board of Commissioners meeting. I do see that the work group meeting minutes were presented as well. My understanding was that the motion was for the first set of minutes for the board meeting. If it's allowed, I'd like just to clean this up and have a motion by the board to approve the work group meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ebinger to approve the work group minutes from April 5th.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Gross. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you. I apologize for not catching that sooner. Our committee reports this morning. Commissioner Kaylee, would you like to start?
Sure. Last week on Friday, I attended our Early Childhood Initiative meeting. We got an update on the Kids Fest event that is coming up on May 14th at Gooseberry Park. I'm also a part of the planning committee for that. I've been a part of that for 7 years now, so that's a really great opportunity for folks in the community with young children to come out and have fun, free activities and then get connected to services to help them thrive and live the best lives they can. There's a bunch of county agencies that participate as well as external agencies as well. So
What was the date on that
May 14th, I believe.
and location?
Gooseberry Park, and it will be from 10 a.m. until noon. There's an event on Facebook on our Clay County Early Childhood Initiative, so I recommend that you check that out and share that. And there's going to be a petting zoo this year, and the police department and Safe Kids from Sanford are having a bike rodeo, so families can bring their kids with their bikes and helmets and make sure everything is safe and the kids can do an obstacle course. It's just, yeah, a really great event for the whole family.
Wonderful.
We also had a discussion on childcare appreciation, which is coming up, and some thank yous that we will be sending out to both family, childcare, and centers. Sanford Safe Kids also noted that their annual safety safari is coming up. That is at the zoo, where kids get free admission and that will be May 21st from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Red River Zoo.
Commissioner Kaylee, are you able to, certainly the daycare initiatives that we've talked about at this board and took action on that, are you able to share that with those providers that are at those meetings?
Yep. Karen Helm from, she's one of our licensors, was there, and between the two of us, yes, we shared all of those new incentives and things that we just approved a couple weeks ago at that as well.
Thank you.
Yep. Then Monday, I attended a Kids Fest planning meeting and for that event that I just talked about. And we also had a special meeting for the law library. The reason for that meeting was we are switching from the Westlaw terminal in the jail to being able to provide those services on the texters that the inmates have. So instead of folks staying there having to take turns using that terminal, this gives them access whenever they want. It does not cost them anything. So if they were sending messages to family or whatever, then they would need money in their accounts to use those texters. But to use the Westlaw legal database, they don't need any money in their accounts for that. That doesn't cost them anything. So there are 125 of those texters in the jail currently. So 125 people can be doing legal research at the same time. That's pretty great. It also will save us about $300 per month not to have that terminal there in just the equipment fees.
Well, I think that's a great response to see what the need is, or to meet inmates what their need is. I know that during construction, it was challenging to continue to have the terminal available. It really will be interesting to see what the usage in terms of, I know you're able to track the hits on Westlaw and see how much more people are using it. So I'm hopeful that will continue to be a better service for our inmates. Is there an additional fee that's provided to have it on the texters?
No, it really just is a
It's a
savings.
no-brainer.
Yeah. So very exciting. That's why we wanted to have this special meeting so we could get that implemented starting May 1st.
Good.
And then we will be reviewing some of our other subscriptions that we have to see if there's any cost savings coming up in October is the next time we can take a look at that. Just a reminder that the Legal Self-Help Clinic is available on Thursdays as well. So folks wanting help with some of their paperwork or just have some questions that they need some assistance with, they can come to the Legal Self-Help Clinic in the law library here at the courthouse. And that concludes my reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kaylee. Commissioner Gross.
On Tuesday, we had the Highway Tracking Committee meeting. There we discussed the cold storage buildings, which we discussed at the meeting today. Then we went attending the Linden Riverton Township maintenance issues. We got together who's going to be attending that. They had some discussion on maintenance of the roads out there, and we covered that. And I think Kim will be getting together with them and watching over that to see if we can cover the roads that they were concerned about. There's a request to block off some parking stalls at the Holly Bowling Alley on the county road, which will be looked into. The wheelage tax, we covered that as far as how the cities can apply for that. And we also talked about the CDL licenses, what to do about the new requirements for there. That night, we also attended the Linden Township meeting, which I just already discussed with the building committee thing, or the highway tracking, excuse me. Like I say, we had good representation from the county, and appreciate those people coming out there and helping us with that situation with Linden Riverton Township. Wednesday, we had the building committee meeting. We went over again on the highway shops and the cold storage bits. projects. Talked about the ARPA funds and the bond budget updates, the HVAC units that were going to be, which was on our agenda today. I guess most of the stuff was on our agenda today, other than the Family Service Center dental expansion update. I think that project is still going along good. We're going to try and make a 6-month contract with them at a lower bid for that, a lower lease price, and then get some commitment from them that they will go on with the project. Thursday morning, we had Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. I guess the guard is going to move out to the RDO from their building up here or something. They must be moving out to the RDO area. I don't know whether they're building a new building there or if they're going into the RDO, some of the RDO, but they're moving out there. On May 17th, that the Army soldiers are getting ready to go for training. I guess they're the ones that are going to be going overseas to some projects. There'll be a family affair at the Sioux. That's in May too, which will be for all the veterans. I think that's pretty much what we covered at Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. Friday, I attended Herb Nelson at 50 years, the sheriff's office, and they had the retirement party for him here. And also on Friday, we had the SHAC committee meeting, and there they went over what the SHAC committee is all about, and it was good to find out what they all do and what their projects are. There used to be 2,000 local boards on our health boards in the state of Minnesota. They're down to 51 now, which, they combined a lot of them. Yeah. Well, of course, they combined a lot, but when you go from 2,000 to 51. So, Jan Malcolm, our commissioner, talked about COVID-19 and reported on the House and Senate bills. And they talked about future meetings, whether they're going to continue going with Zoom or meeting person to person. I think they're going to continue with Zoom for now because it's going to be a big cost to bring everybody together. They discussed the innovation grants, which Phyllis Braceler from Center for Public Health Practice gave us information on applying for innovation grants and membership. Was talked by D. Maltier from Laceer, Waseca County. They're talking about memberships. So I guess that covers my meetings.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Gross. Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. Just to follow up on Commissioner Gross's report on the highway tracking, the only thing to really add to that, just to going back to the Hawley lanes, and Hawley had requested to block off 4 parking stalls in front of their property for the summer, and that is county property. And the reason for that is that they wanted to provide outside dining, which included alcohol service. And I think and the city of Hawley supports it. We didn't really take a position of it other than the fact that I just want to make sure that our county attorney is aware of it so that there wouldn't be any potential liability issues. So that, I don't know, Brian, if you've.
I am tracking. David brought that up to me, so we're just kind of looking into that as far as the liability issue and whether we're take a position then.
Other than that, I'm fine with it. I guess just wanted to make sure that we're covering those bases. Then we did have the Building Improvement Committee meeting. Obviously, we're redoing some numbers on the bids we rejected. We did the cold storage issues, government center, HVAC issues that we talked about. We continue to have discussions on what the future of the DMV could be, based on, you know, the uncertainty of the Moorhead Center Mall at this point in time. So we continue to have that discussion as part of our topics with the building committee. And then Commissioner Gross also talked about the expansion of the dental office and the family service center. And we did go to the township officers meeting, and we heard some issues regarding maintenance and some township roads, and Kim's going to be working with those townships on those issues. And then I did attend that meeting regarding MPCA with SWCD. Yesterday, we had the construction meeting on the transfer station. They continue to be plagued with weather issues moving with that project, so it's slowing it down. The Plan B area, that if they can get that fill in there, then they hope to start structure work on that. That would be the office area, and they're looking at needing potentially 6 feet of fill in that area. And then they are continuing to pour concrete on the push walls between areas B and C. That's push walls is basically holds back where all the tipping floor waste will get dumped and keeps it in. But other than that, and we continue to have the discussions as we reported last time on contingencies, and the contingencies are a struggle right now, so that concludes my report. Oh, I did want to.
I'm going to talk about the landfill meeting.
Yeah, we had in the afternoon, we had the landfill meeting. I'm thankful for Joe, from Comstock. He's doing a good job trying to resolve the remaining issues regarding the projects out there. And I think hopefully we're making some headway on some of those issues moving forward. There is one issue that's going to come down to who's going to pay for certain things, and we'll continue to have that dialogue. I did want to, I believe it was our last meeting, we had a follow-up about discussions regarding the overage of the cost of our project, and looking for maybe some additional assistance from the state based on that project really escalating far beyond what our original intent was when we applied for the grant. And I think we've got a request in for $3 million of additional funding. If we can get it, and MPCA is supporting that, they're going to do what they can do that. But I guess I just bring that up to, if you have the opportunity to talk with our local legislatures on that would really be helpful. It's really, it could be putting an extra burden on our taxpayers in Clay County with the extreme rise in costs. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. I think that's an important piece that I was maybe going to touch on. I had asked Darren last week to forward out the information on contacting legislators in regards to SCORE funding, but I really do feel that piece on the MPCA and us continuing to advocate for additional funding on that is vital in the last few weeks of session. Not sure if we as a board need to officially send any more correspondence, if it would make more sense to continue to reach out individually, but certainly would yield to your suggestion, Steve, on that piece.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, next week, Jeannie from MPCA is going to be here, and so I thought it'd be appropriate to reach out to her if there'd be better avenues for us to contact the legislature to get this continue to move forward.
Steve, is she attending the transfer station?
No, next week we are off in between our transfer station, which I believe she's working with some training with some of our staff, and then is going to be going out to the resource recovery facility just for I don't know if there'll be a tour, but to see the progress that's been made.
I would like to suggest that our entire board be part of that discussion. I'd like to advertise it. I think that we have enough irons in the fire, as alluded to earlier with the MPCA discussion. This is, if you talk about us going down to lobby for things in St. Paul, it costs so much for us to drive down there and lodging. And if we have someone from MPCA in town who has said to us, what is the number that we can help you get, we need to have a full board there. And I think it would be helpful for the other three commissioners to see the resource recovery changes. So I would like to advertise that visit meeting. Bring your mud boots because it's a mess out there, but not sure if it works for everyone, but I'd like to see it advertised as such.
Okay.
Does that work? Okay. All right, and that concluded your report? Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Commissioner Ebinger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last week, I attended the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon meeting with Commissioner Gross on the 14th, and he covered that meeting well. And the only other meeting I had last week was canceled. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you. Last week, I attended the SWCD meeting. It was on Tuesday because of supervisor conflicts. We did have good discussions. The pollinator pint night will be on the 21st at Junkyard. There will be opportunity to learn about pollinator habitat, plant some pollinator, support the local Crestwood pollinator habitat that this board had supported. So feel free to attend that if it works. Good update in terms of from Gabe, and he had a good turnout for the noxious weed training that was after the township officials meeting. They had 28 attendees from 14 townships present. Certainly, noxious weeds will continue to be a tricky thing for us to navigate going forward. We did have someone present from the Otter Tails SWCD, East Otter Tail SWCD. We talked about the soil health team meeting that they were having, and in terms of what the district is doing for encouraging soil health programming. They did have their day at the Capitol in which they lobbied for programs that will continue to help their mission. The county feedlot officer piece was a very large piece of the discussion, and concerning mainly for the reason that this board has historically supported programs being facilitated from a local partner. And so we're really continuing to be as flexible as possible in working with the MPCA. Thank you to this board for the support of that appeal. I really do feel this is a classic case of COVID violently disrupting how business was done. Certainly when you're not able to meet in person with people, and things can get lost in translation. So hopefully we can reach a conclusion with that, with more training. There was an update from Member Krabenoff, who was part of the Buffalo Red River Watershed District Citizen Advisory Committee meeting, and had a report from NRCS. On Thursday, I did attend not a committee meeting, but a conversation about how to appeal to the MPCA. I know that that is tricky when those things come up. Thank you to Commissioner Campbell for wanting to be part of that discussion. In terms of MPCA, no one on this board really understands working with them in those programming like you do, and you understood why we turned that over to the feedlot officer over to them in the first place. So thank you for that conversation, just to help educate me. And I attended that afternoon. The Community Action Lakes and Prairies had their EFSP Phase 39 funding proposed allocations with the partners at the table. You know, those are great opportunities to hear the championed programs that those organizations are facilitating within our community. Unfortunately, there's never enough money to fund everything, but those partners, Churches United being one of them, the Great Plains Food Bank being another, have really been as flexible as possible in one, seeking as many different grant proposals as possible, but also doing a lot with a little. So thank you to them for their work in our community. Yesterday, I attended the Minn Kota Earth Week kickoff and ribbon cutting of their expansion. There is a new baler out there, and if you've ever seen those bales, almost 1,000 pounds of recycled material, it's really exciting to see the recycling work that's happening in our community. Certainly Shannon Thompson from our department is a huge advocate in the community, in the schools, and having conversations with all the partners. Minn Kota markets the recyclables from Perham. They're a huge player in that market. And so exciting to kick off Earth Week officially. With that, I do know that Minn Kota offers tours if you'd like to see what that baler looks like. It's really fantastic. That afternoon, I attended the transfer station construction meeting at the transfer station site. It is muddy, as alluded to. You know, I really do feel like we're in the position, certainly the additional costs have been almost unbearable, but I'm hopeful that now that we're out of the ground and you can start seeing the building come together, that we'll be able to avoid those. But certainly is a needed project in the area, and if the Minn Kota Earth Week kickoff was any inclination of the community's desire to have efficient recyclable or options, that certainly is one of them, so that's exciting. And then a discussion, the meeting with the landfill review, Comstock, Burns and Mac. I think we're at the point where a boiler is it, or the parts are in, and if hopefully we see a change in the next week, but this has been a project where it's been almost 2 years where we haven't had a finished project, and as Commissioner Ebinger can recall, when we got to the LAC in jail, it really was 2 weeks of punch list items. So now that we're talking years, that's problematic, but hopeful that now we'll have, now that Steve's at the table, Steve can direct everyone to do as they need. But that concludes. Oh, and then yesterday, this wasn't a committee meeting, but I did have a long conversation with our sheriff about this board's partnership with his department in terms of funds for the drug court. And I know there's been some challenges and uncertainties. We've supported some larger budget purchases out of 2 different funds, and I just want to thank the sheriff for finding the money in the budget to make whole the entire request from drug court. So we will be funding that to the full amount this year. We all can say that is such a important piece of service to the people that it works with. I do think that we're able to identify when those requests come in. It certainly makes more sense to have that come in June when all of the departments, particularly the sheriff's department, is developing their budget, making sure we have that available. Commissioner Ebinger.
I appreciate you having that conversation. I know a couple of us have mentioned to the sheriff that it's important, not so much from financial end at $2,000, $2,500, but to let the people going through that program and the people that run it know that it's supported at all levels, enforcement agencies, the county attorney, and this commission. And I'm grateful the sheriff found the resources to make that contribution. I look forward to helping through the budget process, make sure that we can all continue to be active in that, because it does good work.
Very, very true. Thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This past week, I attended the highway tracking that's been covered in detail by Commissioner Gross and Commissioner Campbell. I had multiple conversations throughout the week with Joe Olson in regards to the bonding projects and the 3-shop planning within the rural Clay County. On the 13th, we participated in management. We discussed redistricting, our capital project updates, payroll. Again, I know that I've mentioned it. We're on our second payroll with our new UKG program. I just again want to highlight the work that our staff have done. We all have gotten paid, but I'll let you know that there's been a lot of additional work that's had to go on behind the scenes to make sure that's happened. And so we thank the staff for doing that. I had multiple conversations this past week with Matt Evans from Burns and McDonald in regards to the completion of the landfill project. Participated on the 13th in the building committee that's been addressed by both Commissioner Gross and Commissioner Campbell. On the 14th, I participated in a meeting with discussion with Robert Wilson from Cass County Administrator. Again, as I've shared in regards to the Red River Regional Dispatch, we're looking at, this board has approved moving forward, at least looking at a potential site for a new facility, and also at the same time, they're working on an operating contract. We've had Commissioner Campbell and Commissioner Eberger at those meetings. As far as the operating contract, there's been some discussions this morning that I did pass out in an email. The most recent update based on the feedback that was provided in the meeting. They hope to meet again within the next 2 to 4 weeks to bring that group back together. I've also brought Mr. Melton into that as the hope is from I think Cass County's perspective as we're getting close to what they hope will be a completed document. And so yesterday participated department head evaluation. We had a resource recovery meeting that's been covered by Commissioner Mojo, Commissioner Campbell, and also participated in the landfill project meeting that also has been addressed. I would just note that today is the beginning of local boards of appeals and equalization and open book meetings. They start this morning out in this afternoon in Highland Grove Township at 3, at Hawley at 4:30. On the 20th, Spring Prairie Township is at 1:45. Floyding Township is at 3:30. City of Ulen is at 4:30, and the City of Moorhead is at 6:30. All this information is located on our website. In addition to those meetings, we also take from our different cities and townships citizens who have concerns with their evaluations or the classifications can also just reach directly out to the assessor's office. It's important for our citizens. I think each year at Truth and Taxation, we have a number of citizens that come forward to share concerns about their evaluations. It's important to understand that this is our time now to start at those local boards. If they're not unhappy with the local boards, come June 14th, they'll be before this board. Have the opportunity to come before this board at 6:30 to share that. But again, just making sure that our citizens are aware. Also, just a point of action, Madam Chair, with the posting of the MPCA meetings, we would want to make per diems available for those.
Correct.
Okay. And then I just wanted to let you know that I have notified the MPCA of the board's actions this morning to appeal the feedlot final report. That concludes my report.
Commissioner Campbell.
I have a question on the per diems, because if it's open up as a board meeting, you don't pay per diems for board meetings.
Well, I think in talking with this wouldn't be considered a board meeting per se. This would be a separate meeting.
So I guess the reason I answered correct, I thought that when we did our highway tour of the road projects, that was entertained as with per diems.
That's correct.
And I guess that's why
Okay, right.
we'd have to have a board action on that, I think.
Yes, that's why I wanted to clarify. If we want to add per diem for that.
Or not, it doesn't matter. Okay, if it's not, then I will, because that is part of my committee portfolio, I will forego mine as well that day.
I will as well.
Okay, do we need to have a motion to advertise?
Well, we would not, no.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? If not, we do have the rural cities and county meeting this evening from 4 to 6 p.m. as for the public's information. That is an opportunity for us to have dialogue with all of the smaller cities within Clay County. Certainly, we have other meetings with the city of Moorhead at the table, but that is an opportunity to have mutual dialogue and concerns brought up at that. That is open to the public at the Law Enforcement Center. There also is a Microsoft Teams option for that and a conference call phone number if anyone would like to attend that is open to the public. Anything else? If not, we are adjourned.